Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. You thought that once we graduated from the former Linfield College University that we were done, but we were just so excited to have March Madness back for the first time in 2 years that we had to hop on Skype and talk about it. So I am joined by the one and only legendary David Brody.
Hello, everybody. Great to be back. Couple year hiatus, but
I know
we've been
we're
practicing.
back. And how good does it feel? The last time, no, we had one after we graduated. I was gonna say the last time we had March Madness was when we were still in college, but no, we had one after we graduated. But it feels like so long ago since we've had March Madness, and it's been tough. Can't lie. I was very emotional last year. How were you?
I was extremely devastated last year, especially how the Ducks were playing, going into that conference tournament. Peyton playing out of his mind, and I was thinking the Ducks could maybe make a run. So that was definitely a huge bummer, and just kind of an eerie feeling. Teams getting called off the court.
Yeah, I know for sure. And then, of course, the most Big East thing possible, having the Big East being the last conference still played. They're like, F it, we're just going to play through it. We don't care.
Yeah.
But we're back this year. We just got through a great conference tournament week. So I know there's a bunch of things that stood out there. Anything you thought was interesting that we should get started with?
Just the lack of kind of favorites coming through in their conference tournament.
Especially in the small conferences.
Yeah, a lot of small conference upsets.
A lot of 1Cs went down.
Yeah, we saw some even in some major conferences like the Pac-12, Big East. We saw some of the heavy favorites or perennial favorites fall. Like Oregon getting upset by Oregon State, then Oregon State finishing off Colorado. But even in the Big East too, with Georgetown and
I mean, we almost had one in the American too. Cincinnati made a run, but then they got shellacked by Houston. So whoever between UCLA, Michigan State, Drake, and Wichita, whoever is the last seeded team needs to send thank you letters to Houston for not letting Cincinnati steal another bid.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of teams on the other side there. If you look at like Louisville.
I was surprised at Louisville. Yeah. I thought they were a solid tournament team. I thought more than I personally. I didn't think Drake was very good. I watched them a little bit, and then I think they're like leading scorers out for the year, I believe.
Yeah.
And so it's just like I guess they got in off their body of work. I know they started like 18 or 19-0, but they didn't look great again when they played Loyola. Loyola beat them 2 out of 3, and that's the only real competition in their conference. And then without their leading scorer, I was like, I don't really care to see them in March Madness. But body of work, I guess they get in.
Louisville, though, I mean, I saw 1-6, quad 1 wins. I mean, it was kind of your classic bland bubble resume. So I mean,
was it them versus Syracuse? Maybe Syracuse won one game in the ACC tournament. Maybe that's what did it.
But you have to have a bubble Syracuse in.
I know.
It's not without Syracuse as a bubble.
That's something that how we know we're slowly getting back to normal. Having Syracuse on the bubble is like, and the orange sweating it out on Selection Sunday is just so classic. Just you have to have it.
I think you can make the argument that they played their way in with a loss too against Virginia. They played a great game there.
I agree. I'm a big eye test guy. Like if I tune into your game and I'm like, and you're going head to head with a team like Virginia like that, I'm like, these guys look like they belong in, and I was really happy to see them get in. I was a little surprised they didn't even have to do a playing game though.
Yeah,
that's surprising.
Yeah, especially with the Oregon State and Georgetown and some of those bid thieves getting in.
Yeah. So they evidently were more high rated than like Wichita State and UCLA in the committee's eyes, at least.
I was really surprised. I was surprised with UCLA and Michigan State. I know they both had I know UCLA had lost a few going into it, but Michigan State has what, 3? They've beaten 3 of the number 1 seeds.
They beat, I think, Illinois, Michigan, and Ohio State in like the last week of the season. They also beat Indiana, who was okay for a couple months this season. I think they beat maybe Rutgers too. or someone else who's in the tournament from the Big Ten. But yeah, no, I remember whatever the Illinois region. I was watching it at Buffalo Wild Wings with my friend, and when that bracket got done, and I didn't see UCLA or Michigan State as they went to commercial, I'm like, please put UCLA, Michigan State in the playing game, for the last playing game, just for like the two like heavyweight programs, just having to play a playing game. I'm like, that'd be so funny.
Yeah, totally. Normally, we get one of those teams playing in the kind of a like a Wichita State or something like that, you know?
Yeah, it's weird. Like one of the playing games is Wichita State Drake, and the other one's UCLA Michigan State. It's so weird.
They mix them a little bit, but kind of a cool story for Wichita State. They had obviously a rough year with Greg Marshall.
Yeah, that was
Saga and stuff. So kind of cool to see them kind of sneak in the tournament. And I mean, Wichita they've gone on runs before. They're a tough team.
Yeah, they've got some talent. I know, and they had a bunch of guys transfer after last year too, which evidently was probably because of Greg Marshall. I don't think that stuff had come out yet, but they had a bunch of guys. Like I know Eric Stevenson transferred to Washington, Jamarius Burton transferred to Texas Tech, Grant Sherfield to Nevada. I think those were like three of their biggest scorers last year. But yeah, Tyson Etienne had a great year. And Alterique Gilbert feels like he's been in college for like 7 years.
I know.
Did you start with UConn? I saw that he was on their team. I'm like, how is this guy still in college? But there's going to be a few of those guys next year because there'll be some guys that come back and take advantage of the extra COVID year. And it's going to be wild. But you know what? Enough with the bubble talk. We have a tournament to get to. So we're just going to run through some of the bracket or some of the regions. We'll just talk about some of the teams we like, upsets we like, mid-major teams we like. I have a couple that I'm going to die on a hill for when we get to them. So, and one of them is actually in the first region. So let's get to it. The West region, we got Gonzaga versus the winner of Norfolk State, Appalachian State. App State's making their first. There's a lot of teams like this actually this year. App State's making their first appearance in like 20 years or something. Or there's a bunch of teams like that, which I thought was really cool. Either first ever appearance or first in like more than 20 years, which is pretty cool. But Gonzaga is a machine. And then I think maybe
I don't see a Jarris Lyles or anything like that happening.
No, I did not see that with App State or Norfolk State. Sorry if you're a fan of one of those teams. And then I think the most typical 8-9 game in history, just Oklahoma, Missouri, just two very uninspiring power conference teams. Like, that's just going to get destroyed by Gonzaga in the second round. Like, just the most 9 game of all time.
Yeah, kind of classic. Two teams that were hot at the beginning of the year and then kind of just faded at the end. Missouri started off really hot. They beat Oregon. I think they beat Illinois also early on too.
They did beat Illinois. But I remember watching them. I'm like, these guys are such frauds. Like, I never believed in Missouri. I did believe in Oklahoma. I remember when I was watching them. I believed in them a little more when they were going on their hot streak in like early February, I think. But Missouri, I'm like, these guys are total frauds. Like, even when they beat Oregon, maybe I was just a salty Oregon fan. But these guys are total frauds. Like,
they don't shoot the ball well. But Jeremiah Tillman's really tough down low, and some of those guards can get to the hoop. I think that's going to be a good game.
Drew Smith's a pretty good guard, and Xavier Pinson.
Pinson had a good game against.
I think the most notable thing about Missouri is they have like 5 guys on their team whose last name is Smith or something. that's what it seems like at least.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Oklahoma's a little bit higher upside, has the chance to at least give Gonzaga a better game.
Yeah.
If they get. So I hope Oklahoma, but I think it's honestly a toss-up. Next, going down, we got Creighton and UC Santa Barbara. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Wait, so you're picking Oklahoma? We're giving picks here too, right?
Oh, you want to do picks? Yeah, I'll go Oklahoma just because I think they have a little bit higher outside, but I think it's honestly just a pick 'em. Like, if Missouri wins, I wouldn't be surprised.
I was going to Missouri just off of the strength of some of those wins. I know Oklahoma has some good wins too, but I mean, I think if Missouri, if they have a game where they shoot the ball well, I think they can really compete with some good teams. But,
and they always defend well too. Yeah. Missouri does. So, I mean, I think the Big 12 is stronger than the SEC. So maybe I'm sucked in by the fact that Oklahoma won some of those games, but I like the Sooners. But I mean, you could be right.
Missouri, we got our first.
We got our first disagree over a team that's just going to get slacked by
I think we have an agreement.
Gonzaga too. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The 5-12 game, I will die on a hill for UC Santa Barbara. I think they're so good. I watched them in the Big West Championship game. I'm like, oh my goodness, like these guys are raw. Ja'Cory McLaughlin is a great guard. I think he actually started at Oregon State. He maybe played at Oregon State for like a year.
I was gonna say he was a Pac-12 guard. Yeah, Oregon State. Yeah.
Yeah, but they also have Miles Norris, who started at Oregon.
He had a great title game for them.
He did.
He's going to become a really good player for Oregon. He's tall. He can shoot.
Yeah.
He's athletic. I think it's going to be kind of a really classic Dana Altman kind of 4-5, maybe small ball 5, where he can really stretch the floor. I was really bummed when he left, but yeah, I agree with you on this. I have UCSB here, even though.
Yeah, I think they're really good. I think Creighton's kind of underachieved all year. I mean, there's always a chance that they have some really explosive guards, so there's just the chance that they just get hot. Zagorowski's really good, but I like Santa Barbara here. I think they're a really good team, and this is I know a lot of people are gonna pick Winthrop Nova, but I think this is my favorite 5-12 upset. Because that's just such a classic that always happens. Like, I like Santa Barbara Creighton personally more. So we agree on that one.
Yeah.
Going down, another game I think is going to be insanely competitive. Virginia, Ohio.
Yeah. So I had Virginia here at first, but I was just reading that they're not getting to Indianapolis until Friday, and they're not really going to have a lot of time pre-game. And I mean, who knows? I mean, obviously we can't really guess how that's going to affect them. But I mean, I think this is going to be a long week for them and kind of a tough week. They're not going to be able to practice a lot, I bet, and things like that. So I think Virginia will win, but I won't be surprised if Ohio comes in. They're a pretty strong team.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Preston's really good. He went for 31 on Illinois at the beginning of the year. And they had a long COVID pause, so I think that's why they were the 5 seed in the MAC. I always thought they were one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the MAC. They just didn't have enough games to have a high enough winning percentage, I think. But and Virginia is always just one bad offensive night away, which they're always capable of. So I don't know. I think this region that little quadrant could get really blown up because I think Santa Barbara and Ohio both have the chance to pull an upset, which would be wild. Going down more, we got the first Pac-12 team. We got the Trojans versus the winner of Wichita State, Drake. I mean, I've got Wichita in the playing game, but I think it'll be Wichita State beating Drake and then facing USC. And then I don't know. I haven't thought about that one, but Wichita State, I think, can definitely beat USC. I feel like USC is really inconsistent. Evan Mobley is insane. And then if Taj Edey isn't playing the Ducks, he's probably not going to hit 7 threes in a game.
I mean, he had that big one against UCLA and stuff. They have a really high ceiling if they're shooting the ball well. And I mean, Evan Mobley, like you said, is insanely good. His brother's a pretty good big man down low also. He's pretty good. Ethan is a solid point guard. They're a team that I think I think they could even beat Kansas in the second round, depending on which Kansas we get. So.
Oh, you gotta go into that game because I'll take USC in that game.
I'm taking USC in the first round. Yeah.
Because even though I think Kansas is going to beat Eastern Washington, I think Eastern Washington's a good team, but I'm not a believer in Kansas at all.
Yeah.
I saw a wild stat before the Big 12 tournament that they had 3 players on their team who had made more than 15 threes this year.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing is Agbaji, Christian Brown, and I don't know, probably Jalen Wilson. But they're a terrible offensive team. They're so boring to watch. I just despise watching Kansas.
And then coming off the COVID layoff kind of too. I mean, that's tough. Teams have struggled this year.
Yeah.
Coming off a break.
They defend really well. They have a bunch of guys who can defend really well. And McCormick's a pretty good big guy. I think they'll handle Eastern Washington as much as I love the Eagles.
I agree.
But I do not believe in Kansas long term. I think maybe Sweet 16. I could even see USC giving them a really good game the second round. just because they don't have the firepower at all. All right, here we are with the Ducks going against VCU. VCU is an interesting team because they had a few games they played towards the end of the year that they played without Bones Highland, who's a really, really good guard, really, really good player. And it's almost like it's a kind of a diet version of UConn without Book Knight, like VCU without Highland's like a completely different team. So I guess it's just being able to contain Bones Highland, and then hopefully they can shoot better than 20% from three.
Yeah, I know.
Which, yeah, that was painful watching.
I think a team like VCU is somebody we match up probably pretty good with, just off of kind of how our roster is right now, and in the lineups we bring out a lot of small ball lineups. I mean, I know we'll have Eugene playing at the 5 for a good part of the game. We bring in Chandler Lawson. He's not really a classic big man down low. So I think Oregon will win this game. I just think we're really tough. We have so many different matchup problems for a team. Duarte is one of the best 2 guards in the country. Will
Richard's been coming on,
shooting the ball confidently and well. And then Eugene and Figueroa are just really 2 tough matchups for especially tough matchup.
What I love about our team is that we can just switch like everything, which I think is, especially if you are able to win a game, is like so hard to prepare for.
Yeah.
In March Madness, like a team that can just switch everything and pressures you. Yeah. But it's really just about if we're able to hit some threes, because against Oregon State we weren't, and we crashed out of the Pac-12 tournament epic style.
And that was just, we ran into a Beaver team that was
buzzsaw.
Yeah, it was just shooting the ball like they've never shot it all year. I mean, guys are hitting tough threes for them.
Yeah.
And
obviously Lucas shot over 2 guys.
Yeah,
like a step back fadeaway over 2 guys.
I know we had to start, but I mean, so if Oregon wins, then I mean, obviously we're going to be playing Iowa. I don't see.
Real quick, shout out my brother Colin.
Yeah.
Biggest GCU fan, GCU alum, and Josh Hauser, media guy for the GCU men's basketball team, who will be traveling to Indianapolis. I wish the Lobes all the best, but I don't see him being on.
I don't see them containing Luka Garza. I mean, talk about matchup nightmare for any team in the whole country. A guy who's averaging over 20, like 24, 25 points a game, shoots over 40% from 3, and can bang down low. I mean, pretty tough. I think it's second round. That's gonna be really tough without a true big man.
Yeah, that's where Foley Dante might come in handy. But I think it's even more impressive when you look that he did it in the Big Ten. And if you look at some of the big guys in the Big Ten, it's stacked. Like the Big Ten's obviously a great league, but like just in post players in particular, it seems like every night like you're going against someone who has like the capability of making an All-American team.
Yeah.
Like there's so many good big guys in that league, and that he was just lighting up. Like every single one was wild.
Who do you have coming out of this region then? I mean, maybe we.
If I were to look at, I'd say Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Like I think Gonzaga is an absolute juggernaut. Like for them to have 4 finalists for the positional awards, like there are 5 positions in basketball. There are 5 finalists for each award, and Gonzaga has a finalist for 4 different awards. So they have 4 players that are top 5 in their country at the position, or however many finalists there are. Like they're so good.
Yeah.
I don't see the only team I see being able to. Actually, as much as I hate them and despise watching them, I actually think Kansas is the toughest matchup for them. Just because I think a team like Creighton or a team like Iowa, like that's just going to try and outscore Gonzaga, is just never going to work.
Yeah.
But a team like Kansas, who is going to just make it so ugly and just slow it down, is the team that would almost like Michigan State against Duke in the Zion year. That just made it super ugly. I think they have the best chance of keeping it close with Gonzaga. But I don't see any team in this region really challenging them.
Yeah, same. I mean, just they're in some incredible poor shooting performance by Gonzaga. I mean, I think it will take a pretty big upset for them not to make it to the Final Four. And
Yeah.
Alabama's a solid team. I don't see them taking
Is
down.
that who you have coming out the next region?
Yeah, I got Gonzaga coming out. I think Texas and Florida State are pretty tough teams, but
we're in the East now.
yeah,
All
or
right.
yeah, we can go East.
East. I don't know. I'm just scrolling down my bracket on the ESPN app.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there we go.
I don't know, real quick. Michigan, Mount St. Mary's, Texas Southern. Texas Southern has a guy actually, Michael Weathers, who started his career at Oklahoma State. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Anytime I see a guy on a really small team who's actually played at like a high major level, I'm like, hey, maybe he can just go off. But
yeah,
whatever.
Always has some transfers from high major schools, but yeah, Michigan for sure.
Yeah. And then I actually think this would be the toughest 8-9 matchup for a team in the second round with LSU.
Yeah.
I think I love St. Bonaventure. I think they're a cool team, but I think LSU is going to beat them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the toughest second round matchup for 1 seed. I don't know if you feel differently.
No, I mean, I have LSU winning that game. They looked pretty good against Alabama. I mean, they were just a couple shots away.
Big time call.
Yeah.
From DB.
Exactly.
LSU taking down Michigan in the round of 32. I like it.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying they're taking down Michigan.
Oh, taking down Michigan. Oh, I jumped the gun.
I said they're a couple shots away from taking down Alabama in the SEC championship. I love St. Bonaventure. I'll be rooting for St. Bonaventure, but I have LSU winning that game. LSU Michigan, that's gonna be a tough game. I mean, that's gonna be a tough 1-8 game.
I think that's not.
I think Michigan will win that game, but yeah, I have LSU winning against St. Bonaventure.
Yeah, I don't know. LSU's got a couple really, really good scorers, Cam Thomas and Trendon Watford. And Michigan will be playing this whole tournament without Isaiah Livers too. Always something to keep an eye on. Just how that affects their rotations and everything. And he's a good outside shooter, but I do think that's the toughest round of 32 matchup for a 1 seed would be LSU versus Michigan, just because of the upside that LSU has is I think higher than any of the other 8-9 teams. Yeah. We're going down. We got Colorado and our second bid thief, Georgetown.
This one is this one kills me because
this is going to be an ugly game.
I really like both these teams. I mean, I love how Georgetown looked in the Big East tournament. I mean, how could you not? It was just like a classic 80s Georgetown, tough defense. They were hitting shots. They looked great. Patrick Ewing was just going off about having to show passes in the Garden.
That was hilarious. I love that story.
They just seem like that tough Georgetown team, and a team like that in the tournament can just grind out some games.
Yeah.
But I really like this Colorado team.
Another just grinded out team.
Yeah. Lots of veterans, guys who can hit big shots. And, I mean, if they hit their free throws against Oregon State like they have been this year.
I was going to say that till we came up against Oregon State, but I was like, Oregon State played really well in the Pac-12 tournament. But Colorado was the best free throw shooting team, not only in the conference, but the country the whole year. They went, 10 of 18 in a 2-point loss?
Yeah.
In the title game.
If they shoot free throws like they had been, I mean, they win that game.
They were 85% from the year, and I think they dropped to 83.
Yeah.
After 1 game, that's how good they were all year. So I mean, Colorado really, if it was just a normal game, probably would have won the Pac-12 tournament.
Big McKinley Wright fan. I think he's really good. Tough guard. He hits some big shots. His game has just consistently got better every year. And then there's a lot of good complementary pieces around him. With Eli Parquet is a good defender, can score a little.
Jariah I think is a swing guy for them because when he's hitting shots, he can get really hot.
Yeah.
You saw that against USC a little bit, and then when they beat someone else, maybe when they beat USC in the regular season too, he can get really hot off the bench.
And Evan Batty's tough down low too.
Yeah, I love Evan Batty. Love those just no elevation guys, just ground bound.
Yeah. So Right now I have Colorado.
I'll go Georgetown. I'll take Georgetown. I'll just ride the wave.
I picked Georgetown first, and then I went back and picked Colorado. And
I also think Colorado's a little high as a 5 seed personally, but I don't know about you. I thought that was weird. A team that just lost to Oregon State, getting a 5 seed, I thought was a little weird. I mean, I know Oregon State looked really good, but still.
I mean, they've been pretty high in the net all year.
I I did not check the net.
I don't know if that like really played a role in it or not. I know that's just one
Yeah,
factor.
that probably did, honestly.
Yeah.
But I thought just off the eye test, I thought that was a little high. I thought they were more like a 6, 7 seed. But going down this region, Florida State versus UNC Greensboro. And I hate that UNCG got matched up against Florida State because I think they're a really good team.
Yeah.
I really like them. Isaiah Miller is a really good point guard, and Wes Miller will probably be coaching at a Power 5 school like next year, within like 2 or 3 years. I think they're a really good team. I hate this matchup with Florida State. Like,
yeah, Florida State's a tough matchup for anybody. I mean,
yeah, especially in the tournament.
Always guard really well, always long and athletic, and
yeah,
I think Florida State's going to win this one, but UNC Greensboro is going to give them a tough game for sure.
I think so. And if Florida State is having they have had some off shooting nights. Because as good as they are, I don't really think they have guys that they have good shooters. They don't really have like knockdown shooters on their team. So if they're having an off shooting night, I think UNCG can definitely hang with them. And like I said, Isaiah Miller is a really good point guard. And he's a guy who could just win them a game just by himself. Going down, we got BYU versus the winner of Michigan State UCLA. You want to talk about the playing game first? I like the Spartans.
So playing game, I think Michigan State's going to win. I think UCLA with Chris Smith, I think, would be a totally different team. But without him,
it would have been a top 6, 7 seed probably.
Yeah. So without him, I mean, I think at times the offense just gets kind of stagnant. They don't really have a big guy other than Cody Riley down low.
I know. I think I mean, they're playing. That'd be like us playing Frank Kepnong major minutes. No one's going to understand that reference, but like they're playing Mac Etienne major minutes off the bench, and he was an early enrollee from high school. He was a high schooler literally like in 2020, like at the end of 2020, like in December. And he joined the team in January, and he plays major minutes for them off the bench. He'll probably be a really good player, but just that they're having to play him like major minutes like already usually isn't a good sign for your depth. Usually means you're pretty banged up. But yeah, I like Sparty there. I think they're hot. And I know they looked terrible against Maryland, but before that they were looking really good.
Yeah, we've seen how good they can play. I mean, beating Illinois, Ohio State,
extremely high ceiling.
Yeah, Aaron Henry's really good.
Yeah, he is. He is really good. And they just got a bunch of guys who can just go off at like any time. Like none of them like really stand out outside of Aaron Henry. But then there maybe Joey Hauser, but that's Joey Hauser. Sam Hauser's the other one. And then but like Gabe Brown, Marcus Bingham, Gabe Marble, the other one, Malik Hall. Like they all seem like the same player. Like, honestly, I know they play different positions, but like any of them go off. I actually like BYU though. I think BYU is a really solid team. I think BYU will beat Michigan State.
Yeah, I have Michigan State in that one, but BYU did give Gonzaga a really good game in the conference title game. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if BYU.
Yeah, BYU. I think beat USC. No, they didn't beat USC. No, yeah, they got killed by USC. I was gonna say they got killed early in the season. Scratch that record. Scratch.
BYU in their third game against Gonzaga. That's tough playing a team 3 times.
Yeah, I was just saying.
With like Oregon State and Colorado and things like that. It's a different matchup for them with Michigan State. And Tom Izzo in March is a different animal, you know. So I have Michigan State.
I'm going BYU. I like Matt Harms. I like Brandon Averett. Utah Valley transfer.
Good team.
But I think they're just a solid team. That's going to avoid an upset. Just play solid, and I think Michigan State's too volatile. And BYU won't beat themselves like Michigan State will. I think. Texas Abilene Christian. Abilene Christian actually had a really good regular season. But yeah, Texas, like it's not gonna work.
This is a good Texas team. For sure. This is a really good Texas team. And
they are. I just worry with them. I just worry about them being able to hit shots. I know, cliche. Like, they've had some really off nights from 3, and I feel like their 3-point shooting has gotten worse since they won the Maui Invitational, which puts a lot of pressure on, like, Courtney Ramey, Andrew Jones, and Matt Coleman, who are capable shooters, but none of them are, like, dead-eye.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, Andrew Jones, one of kind of the cooler stories in college basketball. Yeah, coming back from being diagnosed with cancer and back almost like nothing happened.
How can you root against that? You literally can't root against that.
Yeah, Jericho Sims is a really good young big man down low.
How does Texas always have a good big guy?
Yeah, I mean, Greg Brown is I think he's a freshman, really solid freshman.
Yeah, he'll be a top 10 pick probably.
Yeah, and then Matt Coleman's another
big shots. But yeah, everyone's really high on Texas. I'm a little more bullish on them, honestly, just because I've seen when they are not hitting shot. I mean, it's stupid, but like they look really, really ugly, like almost like Oregon when they're not hitting their threes. Like and their offense can look really disjointed. And that usually affects their defense too. But obviously, I think they're going to be Abilene Christian. But yeah, going down, we got the team that people couldn't stop talking about for a while. We got UConn going against Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think either of these teams, I don't really think are really going to make a run, but UConn could. I mean, it's UConn with a strong guard like Kemba and Shabazz Napier back in the day went on a run and carried it.
It was a 7 seed against for the Shabazz run, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean,
they were a 7 seed.
I think they were. I mean, a guard can carry you in March, and we've seen that time and time again. And Boatnight could be that guy.
Boatnight, have you watched him a lot this year?
I've watched him some.
He's so good.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good. He's one of the best guards.
He's insane.
Best guards in the tournament. They're going to run into a tough Alabama team, I think.
Yeah. So you have them beating Maryland?
I have them beating Maryland.
Maryland's just going to uglify the game. Like, they're just going to make it so ugly.
I think
this is going to make it tricky.
Yeah, just a pretty average Maryland team they're going up against.
Yeah, they play hard. They defend well. But, yeah, I don't see them. I think the only thing we're going to talk about Alabama, Iona, Slick Rick. Back in the tournament. I was so excited. At least for one game, we get Rick Pitino wearing a dope suit on the sideline.
I mean, who would have thought Rick Pitino would be coaching in another NCAA tournament? That's a storyline in itself. Just for that program to be in the tournament in his first year. They were pretty 5 or 6 seed in their conference tournament.
That was more based off kind of the same thing as Ohio. They barely played any games this year, so they just didn't really. They were They were the 9 seed, I think, but they were the best team. Like they beat everyone pretty handily in the tournament. But it was just because they only played like 10 conference games or 7 conference games or something. They just didn't have enough to be a higher seed. But yeah, they've got a couple. Isaiah Ross is a good guard. Asante Gist is a good guard, but they don't have enough to beat Alabama. But we'll get one game of Rick Pitino looking cool.
I'm
very excited about.
Maybe we'll get like a Norfolk State or something like that. One of those big.
Can you imagine the storylines if Rick Pitino pulls a 15-2 upset?
Oh my gosh!
Like that would dominate the headline. I can't even imagine what that would even look like. That'd be amazing, though.
I mean, he's a great coach, regardless of his character. I mean,
his character and scandals.
Who do you have coming out of this region?
Yeah, I like Alabama. Yeah. I think Michigan is going to be affected by the Isaiah Livers loss, and I think they've been exposed a little bit in the last couple of weeks with losing to Illinois, getting shellacked by Illinois, losing to Michigan State, and then losing to Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament. But I'm not as big of I personally think Michigan for me is the 4th 1 seed. Like I believe in them the least. And I think they'll get really pushed by LSU if LSU beats St. Bonaventure. Yeah. Like I don't know if I'll take that, but I could see Michigan being out after the first weekend. I wouldn't be surprised. But Michigan still got some good guy. Obviously, Franz Wagner, really good. Mike Smith had a great year from Columbia. But I think Alabama. That's who I have. And I'd actually say, I think in the Elite Eight, they're going to play Florida State.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was going to say I have Florida State beating Michigan in the Sweet 16. And then right now I have Alabama beating Florida State. So, we got Final Four so far so far, Gonzaga, Alabama. But
yeah, I think the Sweet 16 game though, Texas Alabama could be one of the best Sweet 16 games in the whole tournament if it shapes up that way.
I can see Texas getting hot and making a run to the Final Four too. This is maybe the region where I'm least confident in
for sure
picking the Final Four.
It's definitely like the one where I'm least confident. Like I could even see Florida State making a run, or I mean you've got UConn too, UConn in March. But yeah, that region is for me just like a crapshoot. Like, yeah. All right. The South region, Baylor Hartford. Good job, Hartford. I think it's your first NCAA tournament appearance.
Yep.
Sorry you had to play Baylor. Talk about two major conference teams that had very uninspiring seasons in North Carolina, Wisconsin. Oh my goodness. This is going to be maybe the worst game to watch stylistically of the whole round of 64.
Yeah, I mean, Wisconsin's like they like to do is they're just going to slow that game down and really try to grind one out against kind of just a pretty mediocre North Carolina team. I right now have North Carolina. I have North Carolina in that game. I do like some of the younger guys they have, and they also have some of their big guys like Baycott and Garrison Brooks. I think are solid big guys, and Caleb Love's a really good freshman guard. I mean,
if their guards are playing good, then North Carolina has potential. But yeah, if you want to watch Wisconsin slow the pace down to a turtle's crawl, and North Carolina just chuck up bricks and then grab 10 offensive rebounds, that's the game for you. That's going to be so boring to watch. But I don't think either team really pushes Baylor at all.
I do.
Too. Villanova Winthrop. Villanova for sure is a team that just limped in. Obviously losing Colin Gillespie really sucks. Justin Moore got hurt too, but I think he's going to play. I know Winthrop's a team, they dominated their conference. I think they won. I didn't watch any of their conference tournament, but I think it said they won every tournament game by over 20 points.
Yeah, no, they were dominant.
They just smashed everyone.
This is going to be a popular 12-5 pick. I have Villanova right now.
I think it's going to almost go too far with people picking Winthrop just because of how dominant they were and how bad Villanova looked after losing Gillespie. But Villanova's still got some other guys. And even though I think they're going to lose in the round of 32, I think they'll beat Winthrop.
Yeah, I mean, Villanova, even without Colin Gillespie, which really hurts, still super tough. But like you said, Justin Moore is looking like he might play. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl is a really solid player.
He's really good.
Yeah. And Samuels. They got a couple other guys.
He can make shots. Gotta make shots. Yeah. But yeah, I think Villanova, I know that's going to be the most popular 5-12 upset, though, is probably Winthrop over Villanova, just given how Villanova limped in. But Purdue, North Texas, I was personally really sad that North Texas won just because I really wanted to see Charles Bassey in the tournament in Western Kentucky. But obviously North Texas earned their way here. I think Purdue's really good, though. I really like this Purdue team.
Yeah, team that got better throughout the year.
Yeah.
Really solid Matt Painter team. North Texas, I mean, props to them. They beat a really good Western Kentucky team. Charles Bassey is one of the best big men in college basketball. So, like you said, real bummer not to see kind of classic Western Kentucky getting to the title game and not winning and getting in. But I have here. I think that
I think Purdue's going to win.
They got some size that I think will give North.
Zach Edey, they always have size. How does Purdue do it? They just
always have a 7.
Where do they find these guys? Like how?
So
every year.
That's some size that North Texas. I mean, they did pretty good against Bassey, but that I think they're going to have more time. And some of the guys that surround the size that Purdue has.
Still got Aaron Wheeler, Eric Hunter, and they got freshmen like Mason Gillis and Jaden Ivey. I think is going to be a really good point guard for them for a while. But yeah, I've got Purdue winning, and I've also had Purdue beating Villanova. But moving on down, Texas Tech, Utah State. I was really happy to see Utah State make the tournament. I thought they were a good team, and they deserved to be in. I was really nervous when they lost to San Diego State that they might not get in. I was really happy to see them in. but I think they're going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that they weren't in the
playing. So was I. I was happy.
They were kind of trending on, like, with Joe Lenardi and some of the bracket guys. They were kind of being shown on the either last four in or even not in the tournament after Oregon State and Georgetown won. So I was really surprised to see them kind of safely in, maybe instead of Michigan State, UCLA in that playing game. But Texas Tech is tough. Big 12, maybe the best right now, or second best conference.
I think it's the best conference. I know Big Ten people have an issue with me saying that, but that's not a debate that we're having right now. Yeah, I agree. Texas Tech. I think they were on the tough side of a lot of close losses, but I think they're a really good team. Mac McClung, super fun to watch. Kyler Edwards really finished the year strong. And they've got some interior players like Marcos Santos Silva from VCU, Demarius Burton. And I think they'll beat Utah State. Utah State, though, has a really good big guy. I don't know if you're an NBA fan watching this. Neemias Queta for Utah State. Probably going to be a second-round pick, or he'll definitely be signed by some team. Probably. He's a really high upside big man. So I don't know if you're a draft person. Just watch Utah State for him, I guess. But Arkansas, Colgate, any thoughts there?
I watched a little of Colgate's game today against Loyola Maryland. They looked pretty good, but I mean, they were playing a not very good Loyola Maryland team in the championship.
Yeah.
The team can really score, and they got looked like they had some big guys who could protect a little bit. But
I think they lost their first game of the season. They're 13-1 now.
Yeah,
they've won 13 in a row. Since they're in the Patriot League, I just want to air my grievance. Navy basketball, I love you. I was rooting for you so hard, and then you got totally screwed by COVID. You had your leading scorer, your leading rebounder, your leading interior presence catch COVID, and then you had to play Loyola Maryland for the fourth time in like 2 weeks after you just beat them 3 times. And you were like 13-1. You'd lost one game all year, and it was to like Maryland or someone. It was like they beat Georgetown.
They had a win against Georgetown at the start.
They beat Georgetown. They were the best team in the Patriot League all year, and then they got totally screwed. And Loyola Maryland wasn't even supposed to be in the tournament. They didn't even qualify, but the team they were supposed to play, I don't even remember, like Albany, or no, Albany's not in that conference, got COVID, and so they put Loyola Maryland in there, who, like I said, Navy had just played like 4 times, and they still didn't have their leading scorer rebounder. And so Navy, I'm sorry. You would have taken Colgate's place. You would have made David Robinson proud. I wanted you to win the Patriot League so hard. Yeah, that's my little tangent on Navy. The Patriot League, Navy was the best team.
They'll get there someday. I mean,
they will.
A good season for them. Obviously, not a
traditional great season.
Yeah, but I have Arkansas for Colgate.
So so do I. I actually have Texas Tech beating Arkansas.
Again, we have an agreement on that.
We did not discuss this.
Yeah, we did not discuss this beforehand. I could see Texas Tech, though, beating Ohio State in the next round. I do have Ohio State winning. I thought they looked really good in coming back against Illinois.
I think Texas Tech can beat just about anyone.
Yeah.
I think they're that good.
Definitely. And they got a lot of different options. Mac is a great scorer.
Yeah. So obviously we have Ohio State winning down there. Florida, Virginia Tech. You could honestly flip the seeds in these games, and I'd say okay. Like, I wouldn't tell the difference.
10 seems like a pretty, I don't know, high or low, whatever way you call it. I thought they'd be a lower seed. Virginia Tech, 10.
I honestly don't know who to pick here.
I have Virginia Tech.
It's not going to make a difference. I'm going to take Ohio State no matter what. But I really like Trey Mann for Florida. He's really good. Yeah. I think I think Virginia Tech has been a better team all year, even though the seed isn't going to reflect that. But I think Florida has higher upside.
Yeah.
They have a higher ceiling with Trey Mann, Scotty Lewis, Noah Locke, Colin Castleton transferred from Michigan. He's had a good year. So I'll go with Florida. But, I mean, Keve Aluma is really good for Virginia Tech. They could win. I'm going to go with Florida, though. I want to see Trey Mann versus Dwayne Washington.
I like Mike Young I like Mike Young at Virginia Tech, and they just got he just pulled Storm Murphy from Wofford.
Did he commit to Virginia Tech? I saw he'd enter the transfer portal.
Yeah, Storm Murphy just like a
great name.
Couple days, the last few days, he committed to follow Mike Young over to Virginia Tech. Obviously, Mike Young is at Wofford, but
standing name though. Storm
that will be a really good 7-10 game, I think.
Yeah, it'll be competitive with also the knowledge that neither of those teams is going to do anything to Ohio State. I don't think, but it'll be a good tournament game, like for sure. Those 7-10 games can be really competitive.
Yeah.
Wofford played in a good one against Seton Hall. I remember that.
So
I've got Florida, and then
we're coming out of the region.
Baylor.
Yeah,
Baylor's really good.
Yeah,
I think Baylor's the third best team in the country.
Yeah, no, I have Baylor coming out. I don't see any of these teams really posing a threat until they get to the Elite Eight. Maybe Villanova, but Villanova without Colin Gillespie.
I think this regional could be really good because just the way I'd have it playing out, Purdue, Baylor, and Texas Tech, Ohio State would be two great games.
Yeah, I just don't see any of these teams. I don't see any of these teams beating Baylor. I think Ohio State can give them a really good game. Purdue's tough. I just don't. When Baylor's playing well, they, like you said, are a top 3 team in the country and could win a national title.
They've got a lot of guys who can hit threes.
Yeah.
Macy O'Teague hit 10 in a game like last weekend.
Yeah.
They've got a ton of guys who can hit threes.
They were just coming off of COVID stuff too, so
that loss to Kansas I think was a COVID loss.
Yeah.
And then that loss to Oklahoma State was just a great game. That was just a great game. Cade Cunningham's insane. I don't put too much stock in that. Baylor's still really good. But I'd say I got Baylor coming out there, although I think Ohio State, Dwayne Washington's a Kemba candidate, just off watching him in the Big Ten championship. He's a guy that could take that mantle and just light it up, and he could carry Ohio State.
Yeah.
But I think Baylor right now, but that could change after I watch Ohio State. All right, last region. Illinois Drexel. Good job, Drexel. You made it for the first time in like 20 years. Congratulations. You get to lose to Illinois.
I'm
very happy for you.
Illinois with one of the best 1-2 punches in college basketball.
I love Illinois. I think they're the second best team. I think that them and Gonzaga are going to make the title game.
A little preview of Grant's title.
That's literally I think what everyone has.
That's
like I want to do something different.
I just
different, but it's like I just don't see it. Like I don't know.
I'll be rooting.
I'll
be rooting for it. I don't want to see 3-4-1s make the Final Four, but Illinois and Gonzaga.
I'm not gonna put this out there.
Too, but they're on another level.
Same. Illinois. They're so hot right now too.
But a cool story in the 8-9 game with Georgia Tech, Jose Alvarado. That was a really cool moment after they won.
I didn't see it. What happened?
He had a really emotional interview after they won, saying how he wasn't supposed to be in the ACC.
He's a 3-star recruit. Josh Pastner said.
Yes, people said people said he wasn't good enough to be a guard in the ACC, very under-recruited guy, and carried a team to an ACC championship. Obviously, they didn't have to play their semifinal game because of COVID, but still that doesn't take anything away from being the ACC champs. And Josh Pastner needed that win in the tournament. So I have Loyola Chicago, though.
Yeah. And Georgia Tech's full of good stories, though. Moses Wright had 2 scholarship offers coming out of high school. One was Georgia Tech. The other was a D2 school in North Carolina. And he won an ACC Player of the Year.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Loyola Chicago is a really good defensive team.
Wig is a really good big guy.
I'm going to go with Georgia Tech, though. I'm going to go with Georgia Tech. I'm going to pick with my heart there.
Yeah, I like it.
But Loyola Chicago.
We got the Beavs in the next game.
Beavs in the next game. Tennessee is probably my number one, maybe, I don't know. I could probably think of some other teams who are just off the top, like just WTF team. Like I have no idea what this team is. Like I feel like I just look at their roster and I'm like, yes, like these guys must be so good. But then I watch them and they just underperform every time.
Yeah. No, I agree. Every time I've tuned in to watch Tennessee on like a Sunday morning, that like Sunday 10, 11 a.m. Pacific time CBS game, I haven't seen a good Tennessee team really. So, but
It was
I
really bad at times.
nothing. I don't want to take anything away from the Beavers. That was a great stretch of games from them. But I don't see like Kalu dropping 15 against Tennessee. I mean, they were hitting shots that they haven't been hitting all year.
Yeah,
I'm really impressed. This is Wayne Tinkle's best coaching job.
Sure.
Alex is, I think, really good.
Alex is going to be really good next year too.
Andela's really solid. A really solid guy.
Andela, is that what you said?
Yeah, Andela.
Yeah, he had one game where he scored like 8 or 9 points, and they were all free throws.
Yeah,
I think that was the UCLA game.
Yeah, and he's a good rebounder. Gianni Hunt, I think, is a really good freshman guard. I think he actually has built kind of a little bit of a foundation, something that maybe he really just relied on Trace Tinkle and the Thompson brothers the last few years, and he actually, I feel like, has
a base. Yeah.
Better. I mean,
because he'll lose Ethan Thompson this year and Zach Reichel, and I think that's it for their big contributors.
Yeah.
Because so Lucas will be back, Alatish will be back, Gianni Hunt will be back. I think even Roman Silva is only a junior.
Yeah.
He's a decent big guy. But yeah, I'm interested to see you take him out of the like magical Pac-12 tournament run where they probably just had a ton of confidence and put him here. And are they going to play the same way? Are they going to hit those shots? And Tennessee's a really, really good defensive team. Like even though they look terrible on offense sometimes, they always play good defense. And they have long athletes that I don't think they saw in the Pac-12 as much, like Yves Pons, John Fulkerson, Victor Bailey, Oregon transfer, shout out. I don't know. I'm going to take Tennessee, I think, but like they could just look terrible in this game, and Oregon State might make some shots and could catch them again, or could catch another team.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take Tennessee, I think.
Yeah.
I
have Tennessee too, but the Beavs can be tough. I mean, they showed in the Pac-12 tournament that they can guard pretty good, and they hit the boards pretty well too. And a guy like Jared Lucas who can get hot from three. He can have a streaky.
Yeah, he can hit shots. He can hit some outside shots for sure. We saw that firsthand. Yeah. And if Ethan Thompson has another game with 5 threes as a 25% career three-point shooter, look out. That was stupid. I'm not salty. Can you tell? Can you tell how not salty I am?
I mean, next game, though, the other OSU, Oklahoma State with Cade Cunningham.
Oh, yeah.
Him and Evan Mobley, probably the top 2 picks in the draft.
Cade Cunningham's so good. He's so fun to watch. Can they just flip Syracuse and Liberty and just make this the all orange?
Yeah, there you go.
Quadrant. Or put Clemson up there. But I think Oklahoma State, even though I think Liberty is a really solid team, I think Oklahoma State should have been at worst a 3 seed, if not a 2 seed. Like I don't get how West Virginia is seated ahead of them, even though they beat West Virginia 3 times. And just beat them in the Big 12 tournament. And I like West Virginia, but I think Oklahoma State's really, really good. And another team I think can play with just about anyone in the country.
Totally. Oklahoma State, Cade Cunningham obviously gets all the attention, but I mean they had some guys step up.
They do.
When Cade Cunningham,
solid roster. Yeah. Avery Anderson, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Really good guard.
No, they have some guys who can score, and I have them going to the Sweet 16 and losing to Illinois, but they're going to give Illinois a tough game, and I'm just hoping we get AO versus Cade Cunningham.
That game would be insane. I feel like I've said this a lot of times, but that could be the best Sweet 16 game.
That could be one of the best games in the tournament. I mean, you have the top 2 guards going against each other.
Yeah, and one thing I like about Oklahoma State is literally like every game they've played, even though they've played not as good teams, has been close. Like literally every game they play is like a 1 or 2 possession game in the final couple minutes, so they like will know how to handle the pressure if it comes down to the final couple minutes. And even though they're a young team, they won't get fazed by that because they've just been there so many times throughout the year. But I like Oklahoma State, and then I like them to beat Tennessee or Oregon State, even though I took Tennessee in the next round 32. Coming on down to the last half of the bracket or last quarter of the bracket, we got San Diego State, Syracuse. I don't know. Maybe it's just biased, but I really like Syracuse just because last time I saw them, they looked really good against Virginia.
Yeah, I just think this like Jim Boeheim bubble team with Syracuse in that zone. Buddy Boeheim shooting the ball really good. It just seems kind of like one of these classic Syracuse teams that is either going to look really bad in the first game or they're just going to be really tough on defense. They're going to
make like the Sweet 16 early date.
Yeah, hit some big shots. I have Syracuse in this one, though. This is a good San Diego State team for sure.
Yeah, Matt Mitchell is a really good, really fun player. If you're a fan of Chunk Kings, just watch Matt Mitchell. He's really fun to watch. Jordan Shackle's a good player. Who's their big guy? Their big guy's really good too. I'm blanking on his name, and I'm gonna be really mad.
They beat Utah State in their conference championship game.
Utah State. They beat UCLA in their first game of the year.
Yeah, Mountain West is a really strong conference this year.
It was. Boise State and Colorado State were both pretty solid teams. Nevada was also pretty strong, even though they weren't on the bubble. Yeah. Going down, we got West Virginia, Morehead State. Belmont was a really, really good team. They were the best team in the OVC all year, and then just got upset in the OVC title game. So a little sad about that.
A lot of people are mad Belmont didn't get included in the as an at-large team, or at least
they won 26 games.
Yeah, them and Gonzaga, the only teams to win that many games this year. So maybe a lack of respect for some.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't play anyone, to be fair. But when you win that many games, you should at least be included. I mean, Western Kentucky was included, and they lost this title game. They lost a couple other games in Conference USA too. I know they beat Alabama, but they were included in the bubble. Belmont should have at least been included in the discussion. They were a really good team all year who just got caught by a hot Morehead State team. Yeah. But it's unfortunate, but it's just kind of the way it goes right now. But I like West Virginia in this game. Yeah. Another Big 12 team that I think I could see beating anyone on any given day. I have West Virginia in the Elite Eight. I like it. I think they're really good. I think they're really tough. I think this is a better offensive West Virginia team than we've seen in years past. Taz Sherman, Miles McBride are two really good guards. And they've still got that tough inside presence with Derek Culver. And they lost to Oscar Tshiebwe like a month into the season. They didn't even skip a beat, which I thought that was going to affect them a lot. But they just kept going, and they pulled out some really big wins. I know they lost to Oklahoma State a couple of times, but those were like 2 or 3 point games. Yeah. Every game they lost seemed pretty close. But yeah, I don't know. Do you see Morehead State doing anything there?
No, I got West Virginia. I'm a big Derek Culver guy, and like you, actually have them beating Houston in the Sweet 16. But
we did not rehearse this.
We did not rehearse this, so I mean, maybe I would have picked some different things.
Yeah, you should have prepped this before, so we could have picked some different things. But
yeah, I think Derek Culver is really good. Miles McBride's a good guard, and just a really solid Bob Huggins team that I think could go on a run, and
I think
it could give Illinois a good game in the Elite Eight if they can get that far.
Yeah, I think they can.
I mean, a good season by Morehead State, but I just don't think that they're going to be able to have an answer for Derek Culver.
Derek Culver and Sean McNeil, another guy that's kind of in the, Duncan Robinson role. Yeah. Just like a low major or JUCO player, just wet from three, just from everywhere. He plays big minutes for West Virginia and will just splash everything. Really good shooter. So yeah, I have West Virginia coming out of that section. All right, going down. Clemson Rutgers.
Yeah. Another game you could kind of flip the seedings and wouldn't really.
I don't know. I like Rutgers. I watched more of them this year.
Yeah.
I just think they're more fun to watch, have a little bit higher upside. Clemson is just fine, like I guess. Like Amir Sims is a really good player, but outside of that, I don't really know what Clemson has.
I have Rutgers here too. Joseph Young's younger brother's on.
Yeah, Jacob Young.
I watched them a few times this year. They're a very tough team, kind of hard nosed East Coast team.
Ron Harper Jr., Ron Harper's son from The Last Dance, Michael Jordan's teammate, is on this team. Geo Baker is a good guard. Miles Johnson is a really good post player. I think he gets swallowed up a little bit in the Big Ten post player discussion, but he's a really good player. He just doesn't get the headlines because there's so many other big guys in that conference.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we got Houston, Cleveland State. I'm not a believer in Houston at all, long term. I think obviously they're going to beat Cleveland State. I don't know. This is just like a personal thing. So about a few weeks ago, Houston had an open date, right?
Yeah.
And Gonzaga had an open date. They both had an open date, and I think Mark Few called Calvin Sampson and asked if they wanted like a schedule, not even a home game like at Gonzaga, just like a neutral site game in like Las Vegas or somewhere, or Salt Lake City. And Houston said no and scheduled a game against like NAIA, like Our Lady of the Lake, and won by like 100.
Yeah.
And I was like,
remember that.
Like, no, like if you don't run, like you cowards, like I would have, even if Houston would have played that game and lost, I probably still would have believed in them more. But just the fact that they chose not to schedule that game and instead just chose to beat up on some poor NAIA school, it was just like turned me off of this team completely. Like they have good players, but I just won't believe in them like at all. The Americans sucked this year. The American was terrible. They lost UConn. Like this conference is not good.
Yeah, a very guard heavy team.
Yeah. Quinn Grimes.
I think they could get exposed in that way at some point. I mean, maybe when they meet West Virginia in the Sweet 16 with Derek Culver and some of those guys.
I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna take Rutgers. I'm gonna have Rutgers beat Houston.
Oh, I have
Rutgers
Houston.
Basketball. Let's go, Scarlet Knights.
That's
gonna beat Houston in the round of 32.
I'll
call it. I'll mix things up a little bit.
That's definitely a 2 that could lose.
I think they're the weakest 2 seed.
Yeah, a lot of these 2-7, 2-10 games are gonna be pretty good, I think. But
yeah, I think they'll beat Cleveland State. But then I think they'll be the first, like, really, if LSU doesn't beat Michigan, I think this will be the big casualty of the first weekend is Houston losing to Rutgers in the round of 32.
And I think I read today that almost every year or most years, like a top 4 seed has lost, or at least 1 or 2 has lost or something in the
and a double-digit. I said a double-digit seed has reached the Sweet 16 for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I had before that any other double-digit seeds. But I'll go Rutgers to make the Sweet 16. Yeah, I don't think I had any other double-digit seeds looking back on it. Unless Santa Barbara and Ohio both win, then obviously one of them would be in. But I think Rutgers would beat Houston. I just don't believe in Houston at all. I think they're scared. I think they are cowards.
Yeah.
And I think when they finally face a good team that's not a crappy American team, they'll lose. They lost to East Carolina. East Carolina is so bad.
I mean, they have some guys that can really score, though. I mean, Quentin Grimes is good.
Dejan Giroux is a good player. Like, they have some good players. It's more of a, like character, like integrity. Like I don't know, just like the intangibles, just like I don't believe.
Now we know how Grant really feels when it comes to Houston. So
yeah, I don't believe.
You take anything.
I was be excited on Houston until they chose not to get excited. Until they chose not to schedule that Gonzaga game mid-year. Like instead, just what are you doing? Like who cares? Like even if you lose, like it's a good test. It's a better for your team than scheduling a game you're going to win by 80 points.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Like, who cares? I don't know. All right, we made it through the whole bracket.
So we had
Similar.
same Final Four.
I had Gonzaga, Alabama, Baylor, and gosh, Illinois. I don't want to be this chalky.
I know I'm not liking it either,
but I just feel like the top teams this year are just better than the rest. Like, I'm sure one of them will lose, but
I'm unsure about the Alabama one. That's something that I'm going to think of.
I think for sure. And then I think either Ohio State or Texas Tech could end up giving Baylor a really good game in that region. But I think Baylor's really good. And then I've got the chalkiest national championship game with Gonzaga versus Illinois, and probably Gonzaga winning.
I have it. See, okay, there we go. Something different. I have Illinois winning.
I like it. I really like this Illinois team. I just think Gonzaga is a juggernaut this year, and Mark Fee is going to get his first championship. Cool. But let's see. Do you got any, before we sign off, do you got any bold predictions?
Predictions.
Maybe less of an upset pick, maybe more of like a trend, either conference or seed. Let's see. I got one.
Let's hear it.
Here we go. Let's see. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm counting 6. Okay, I think 6 of the 7 Big 12 teams are going to make the second weekend.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma's going to lose to Gonzaga. I think the rest of them will all make the second weekend.
Bold prediction.
That's why I think the Big 12.
Okay, here's a bold prediction: 3 Pac-12 teams make the second weekend.
Oh wow, that is huge. That's way bigger than mine.
Yeah, so Colorado, it'd be Colorado, SC, and Oregon. So SC and Colorado, that's maybe not that going out on too much of a limb. Oregon over Iowa is. I'm really interested, obviously, as a Duck fan, to see what Dana kind of comes up with to contain Luka Garza. But Iowa struggled at different times this year, and if
they played no defense.
But yeah, 3 Pac-12 teams in the Sweet 16.
That's way bolder than mine. I feel like I should go bigger now.
Conference needs it.
What if I say that Virginia and Creighton both lose, making Santa Barbara or Ohio in the Sweet 16? What if I do that? Is that bolder?
I like that.
That's bolder than saying 6 of the 7 Big 12 teams, because those teams are all really good.
I could see this being a kind of a crazy tournament just off of the year it's been.
I think it's going to be chalkier.
More games than other teams. It's just kind of a weird year. I just think this could be a weird tournament.
It is a weird year, but I think the cream will rise to the top. Honestly, I think it's going to be really chalky. Like, I look at it and I want to pick upsets, but I just don't believe in many of these upsets enough. Outside of like Santa Barbara, Ohio, I don't know, maybe no one else. Rutgers over Houston. Houston sucks. That's my big one. Houston's going down first weekend. But hey, David, I know we went way longer than you wanted to go, but thanks for hopping on tonight and doing this.
Yeah, I needed this. This has been too long. The Brody and Barrow, or the Barrow and Brody Sports Hour lives on. I know all of our fans up in McMinnville are going to tune in, and we don't hear from you.
I know they do podcasts now. They don't even do radio. They don't even do like live on air. They just have the studio and people just record podcasts and put them out on like the KSLC banner.
This is getting uploaded on our
YouTube channel.
Or what? I mean, could we have the audio to
Oh yeah, I could just clip the audio. Too.
Add it to our
I'll do that too. But yeah, But before we sign off, thank you for doing this. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, of course. Have a good turn.